Hi everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're from. Today's session is 588th session. So we are lucky and happy to have everyone on this great platform. So to begin with, may I welcome all the participants as well as the guest speaker of today's session. We are looking forward to listening to an enriching and engaging session today. May I invite Coach Danu Rajwani to introduce our guest speaker today.
Greetings from Dhanu Rajwani. Tiara Crawford is an amazing personality. Would you like to know how many pies she has her fingers in? Let me get started. Starting with Tiara is a passionate mompreneur. Mompreneur, not entrepreneur, mompreneur. She is a devoted mother of 3 children, a caregiver to her paralyzed veteran brother, the CEO of the House of Sela, which is a non-profit performance arts facility dedicated to revitalizing her community through transformative power of arts and self-care awareness. This is something very different and very new I've not heard of before. I'm going to be happy to be listening to that today. To top it all, Tiara is a proud sharEverian, and as a talent agent, coach for 15 years, Tiara has had the privilege of nurturing talent and fostering growth. Strut Fashion Play is a platform where she combines her passion for fashion, theater, social awareness. This innovative production group provides training in fashion design, stage production, theater, acting, modeling, dance, and choreography. Wow! It's a real big wow, Tiara. Through marketing, mentorship, and customized soundtracks, they shed light on pressing social issues, inspiring positive change and empathy. Tiara is super excited to connect and explore opportunities through sharEvery for collaboration and growth. Are we ready, Tiara, to get going? So, Tiara, the virtual stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. Hi. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for joining me and just your beautiful energy, your beautiful faces. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak on this topic today. Our topic today is rustic royalty. And I'm going to dive into what that actually means for me and what I hope for you guys to retain from this message and what my goal is for us to move forward with after we understand the goal of the message, which is, for me, breaking down what does rustic even mean? Well, to me, when I think about rustic, I'm going to give you a visualization first. Imagine sitting on the countryside on a big, large porch, and you may hear a chime in the back, and you look to your left, and you may hear some roosters. Cock-a-doodle-doo. Okay, and you may hear faint sound of cars in the back, and you look and you lemonade, a big tall glass, cool drink in your hand, and you shake it and you hear that ice against the glass, and you're rocking back and forth. You're on your porch and you are in your moment, whether this is your moment of just reprieve, relaxation, meditation. You are at the place where, before anything gets busy and bustling, this is your space where you are just comfortable and you're unballed and you're here. And for me, rustic is that moment. It's a moment that I shared many of days with my grandparents on their porches, whether we were shelling peas for dinner or we were just out taking a break from being inside the house, or we were just coming outside for a moment just to look at God, just to look at the green earth, just to take it all in. We were there on that porch in our rustic rural area. And a lot of times when we think about rustic versus royalty, we think of something unpolished, something that's not sophisticated, something that's country maybe. But I would like to challenge you guys to not just as those different types of labels, but maybe to think about rustic as that vision I gave you a minute ago, just unwound, unballed, and just there. You're just being. And as we go into that identity of rustic, what are we talking about royalty about? How do you get from this place on a country porch next to a pile of peas and a glass of lemonade to royalty? And we may determine royalty to be power. When I think about royalty, I think about stations of power and wealth. I think about the highest plateau where you could afford anything you wanted. And I think about labels and titles of regaliance and the best of everything, the highest quality. And so what I want to say to you is, how do we get to this place of being unballed, unwound, and just super comfortable and get to this place of regality and royalty? And that's a question for you. But I would like to say, for me, I believe it is gratitude that gets us there. I think about humble beginnings into ownership of your true power. You've surpassed potential and you're living in your crown. Now, I want to bring up some different scriptures that I can for those who enjoy the Bible. When I think about rustic and I'm thinking about this self-worth, this identity, I'm go back to the Bible and I think about the story of David. And he started as a shepherd and he was living in the fields in that rustic environment I just explained to you. And he's just out there and he's enjoying life. And now he ends up going through this transition where he is now blossomed into a mindset of royalty at the end of his journey. And I'm brought back to different people in the Bible where you have David, you've got Moses. Moses, we know his story in the Bible. He, was found in the water and he was able to move into his station of royalty after going through his different trials and his different tribulations. His growth process brought him from rustic to royalty. And in that, it was his struggle and his perseverance. And he never gave up his faith, right? And with that, his thought process, being thankful for where he came from and where that led him, even through all of these obstacles and these journeys, right? And if you think about it, our Messiah and all of these rustic moments of being in a manger or being born throughout these trials with King Herod and going into, dying for our sins and being able to rise and be our king. Rustic royalty is where it's at, you guys. And I want to ask you guys, does anyone ever have a moment where they can recall being in that rustic position in your timeline before you reach this plateau of arriving to being a mom or being a manager or being a leader in your community? Before then, when you were lower down on the scale, can anybody remember their journey? Real done. Yes, Miss Sandra, I remember my journey. And I want to also encourage you guys to think about this. When you think about this journey and this process from rustic to royalty, I think about the sacrifice. We know that royalty has money to spend, right? But I want to let you know that everything that you want in this life comes with a cost. a cost. Nothing is free here. It costs to be born. It costs to leave your home and go into the workforce. It costs to go into the gym and build these muscles. It costs to just be able to pursue your dreams. Everything comes with a cost. Nothing is free. And if you want to go to different stations and levels to work your way up to that royalty, it comes with a price. What's your price? What do you have to pay? Is it adjusting your mindset? Is it pushing through harder to get out of the bed from the day? Is it being able to overcome being sick to come and do a talk? Is it being able to overcome an argument you just had with your partner to be able to minister to someone else? What is it that's going to cost you? What's the price of that cost? And are you willing to pay it to rise to your station of royalty? For me, this is how we started out. We're in this beautiful rustic situation. This may be the womb, or this may be your birthplace or your home where you're safe. And you are these eggs here. And you're in this little cocoon. And this is you. And whether you were born into wealth or you were born without it, you had no idea, you were none the wiser. You didn't come out with a label that says I'm poor, or a label that says I'm rich, or a label that says I'm medium class, or a label that says I'm doing okay. You came out loved and protected, and you're here. And this may be the crown that you came out with. This beautiful floral, humble crown. And as you went through life, this journey, you came in and you got hit with something. These could have been just stations in your friendships. These could have been situations where you found out that you may be struggling with some type of mental or emotional scenario where you may need medication, or that you may need to have counseling. Some type of trauma was a part of your cost, because now you have to now run through and navigate these circumstances and overcome these hurdles. So now that you can be stronger. And then once you reach that plateau of maybe becoming a mother, before you were just an older sister or an older cousin or an auntie, and now going through this pain of birth and the juggle of the calendar with work, and then being a parent, and then also being a servant, or being a father who's got to go to work and do all the things at home after he gets from work. I've got to now fix the toilet. I've got to attend to the drain. No one took the dog out. I've got to do all these things. And what's going on with this garden out here? You know, all these things we have to do and juggle while we have this cape on. How are we balancing our cost, cashing in for each time we want to elevate? I mentioned to you before, I believe perseverance through thought process. Gratitude, you guys, gratitude, being thankful from our humble beginnings, being thankful of being on that porch in that old rustic house, being a part of this visual right here. It means so much to me, and I love it because it represents that rustic home with that porch, that humble beginning. Going back to what made me, what did I get from this? What are my strengths? What was your relationship like with your grandparents? What was your relationship like with your parents? Most of us may have had some complicated relationships. Some of us had some outstanding relationships. But guess what? We came from those people. And believe it or not, I happen to believe we are aspects of our parents, which is why they become grandparents to our children. Your children were already existing and formed in your mother's womb. We literally come from everything that they've already been through. And it's a part of our journey. It's a part of our DNA. And a lot of times our struggles are not our own. A lot of times our struggles that we have are coming simply from our parents. and maybe things that they didn't overcome or get counseling for, or maybe just didn't fulfill. A lot of times we're getting passed down businesses from our companies, from our family companies. We're getting passed down relationships and responsibilities that we are in charge of. It doesn't have to be just DNA. Sometimes it can be tangible. Sometimes it could be things that rely on our education. You've got to now go through this education and become this doctor or get this doctorate or get this bachelor's or get this degree because mom couldn't do it or dad didn't do it or they did do it, but it's required now to pay the cost to keep the family business going. It's required now in order for you to be able to be a better example to your family now. There are costs that we are not calculating that are taking a toll on our channel to growth. And we have to have faith and we have to have a mindset. So let's dig into this mindset. How do we stay positive? How do we stay on this turning of the pages when and we just get a phone call and someone passed away? How do you stay positive through death? How do you stay positive through arguments? How do you stay positive in your home where you're trying not to let your children hear the discourse, but that energy has prevailed and you're trying to make sure it doesn't leave this doorway? How do you stay positive when you've got family members that when you call for something to give a praise report and they've got 3 other negative things they have to tell you about? How do you stay positive and think about the things you're thankful for? Let me tell you something about being thankful. I personally believe that when you can thank your creator in the despite moments, in the instead of moments, there is some type of power there. We think about royalty as being power. Imagine that source of power that comes from gratitude in the instead ofs. When you've got that ceiling and you've got this format of negativity and you break through that and you turn that page and you widen that doorway by saying, instead of, I'm thankful. I may not have the grand house right now, but I'm thankful for this porch. I'm thankful for this nest that I have. I'm thankful for this humble crown that I have. I'm thankful for this job. I'm thankful for these children that won't be quiet back here. I'm thankful for this dog. I'm thankful for this lunch, this meal. I'm thankful because when you can thank the Most High for your right nows, you change your future. You change your could be's. You change your almost hads. You change your will, maybe I could be into I most certainly definitely am now. You alter DNA. Do you know that there's a research that says that as a mother, especially, this also, I'm sure, could go into fathers. But what I read that if a mother literally changes her mindset, she changes nucleus, she changes cells, she changes development. And it's not just in her. She literally changes it in the DNA of her children, her offspring that are already outside of her. Now, people in the church may say, oh, hey, people in the church or people in the spiritual walks, people in the synagogues, they also may say, well, we know about that. That's called prayer. Duh, that's the power of prayer. Happens all the time. Prayer changes things. But in the scientific community, this is profound, that you can change something with your thoughts. You have the power to change the crystallization of water, the molecules, DNA. You have the power to change the cellular structure with the power of your thought. There's a scientist, Nakimoto, did a science experiment, and I may be saying his name incorrectly, but he reviewed water after putting labels over the water and titling each water something different. something negative, something positive. And then he looked at those water molecules underneath a powerful microscope. And the crystals were incredible. When he looked at the one that was negative, it was disgusting. It was disformulated. It was, for better use of words, ugly. It was a reflection of the thoughts cast onto it. When he observed under the microscope the positive things, love, I am powerful, those were the most beautiful, reformed according to the words that could not come back void. Those things changed your words, your speech, your mindset. In that scientific experiment that you can Google any point in time, it showed proof of your intention and the perseverance of your words. And how I love that verse in the Bible that says, nothing can come back void. Once God speaks, it goes forth and cannot return to him void. And we were created by God in his essence, and we have that power to speak life. And nothing that we say can come back void. And when we speak life and say, I can make it through the day, I will control my anger, I will control my thoughts, I will have a better day. Something as simple as, thank you for this morning. Thank you for this sun. Those things, you guys, are starting to shift your path into the next. And you start all of a sudden having better days, better opportunities, synchronicities, things that come to you easily now. Things have shifted. And then you get this small princess or prince crown. And you're able now to grow and have something now to give back to the others, because royalty means wealth. It means different access. And so now you've got a sermon. You've got something to talk to about when those people call you with that negative stuff. Hey, I've been there before. Let me tell you how I had to change my mindset and change myself into a more grateful person. As you change your mindset, ladies and gentlemen, as you process gratitude and weave it through, just like the rustic weave. You weave it through your journey. It's building a foundation that automatically, by default, graduates you into your royalty. Your highest station sometimes comes from your greatest cost. In the movies, I always find it ironic that my children point out Batman had to lose his mother and father, or The Flash lost his mom, or Spider-Man had to lose his uncle. There's always some type of cost associated with accessing this power. And before you can really hone in the power, even though you've had it this entire time, you have to be stretched and be able to go back and be thankful for all of those lessons before you're able to instinctively, by default, use the power. Spider-Man wasn't able to have access to use his webs or be able to do the leap of faith until he went back and practiced his gratitude. And you'll find that almost every superhero has the same exact plot, the same exact journey process. Humble beginnings, cost, going through, unable to really balance out this gift of power, gratitude, relearning the lessons, wearing the crown, being able to go back in and be the hero. And that is my discussion on how serving with a royal heart allows us to live through confidence and align with our God's truth and to be a conqueror. Thank you guys for listening. And I really appreciate this time.
Yes, thank you so much, Tiara, for a wonderful session. Uh, One of the most interesting parts that I liked from your session is that you brought the real essence into the topic, like nest and the realia we call it. So bringing those things, I mean, that really mattered. You were also talking about the difference between rustic and royalty, how you overcame from no, rustic to royalty, and what are the attributes of royalty like gratitude, being positive. So those things really mattered. And we also brought some stories from the Bible, how people from became great from rustic to royalty. So thank you so much for a wonderful session. And may I invite Coach Sujata Balaji for a review.
Good evening to each and everyone present here. And it's been a journey of 30 minutes, very insightful. Rustic royalty. I think rusticism is something that you really connect to nativity. There's never a royalty being thought about, but I think this topic is very, very viable and something, unique being brought about in her thoughts, what she had shared. Thank you, Tiara, ma'am. And you did show the Tiara, I think you deserve that for this session. Thank you so much. The session really has opened up with a wonderful personal example. As you said, opening by the countryside. I'm sure everybody would love to be there, especially in today's competitive world where people are only racing against time. I think that's a wonderful example you have given with a cup of coffee and close to nature on the countryside. Nothing more a human being can ask for. And I'm sure it's an excellent opening for all of us. And you, the moment the phrasing of saying that being rustic is the moment that you share with everybody, that is especially with the divine, and you give it back in the form of gratitude. I think today mankind is so busy that gratitude is falling, or rather it's getting into shambles. We do realize there are beautiful things around us, beautiful people around us, but a moment to say thank you, to have a humble beginning, all these are being missed out, and nobody is to be blamed for. That's because time has become a very powerful tool. And that's how, rusticism also takes a different dimension. And in this session, we understand it's a royalty. Definitely. In fact, I would say signature royalty that goes without explanation. Rustic royalty comes in with a lot of explanation. And Tiara ma'am has really brought it out very well, well drafted. And, we could really resonate with your ideas. Now, beginning with this, you said it's the potential, a powerful potential itself is powerful. And you had mentioned it, it's one of the potential tools, that is gratitude. And you gave the example of a shepherd, right? How he transformed himself, how a person can become a messiah with the virtuosity that they practice. And the main thing is the human sacrifice that is involved in this journey is not noticed by all, maybe by one, but not by all. And I think it's time for all of us to introspect, stand for a moment, and appreciate all that is around us and the person who's transforming from rustic to royalty. That's how we really have to move our journey with. And I think the shepherd example has come with a very, very weightage, very fortifying, I must say. And the examples of showing a nest, showing a home, ultimately man craves for that. A place of belonging, a place of possession. How you are, where you come from is not in your hands. But later, once you take life, you definitely need people around you. You definitely need a family to fall back on. You definitely need a home, which we define as a family and extended family, which now is totally taking a different dimension. I think we all have to work to this of having a wonderful home, a wonderful family, and a lot more to fall upon. And apart from this, your education, your thought process, how they make you undergo a transformation. I think these are also, apart from the DNA that you have mentioned, when you're being exposed to the process of becoming a virtuous person, you definitely are making a difference to yourself and to people around you. And there is a beautiful quote that, you are what your thoughts are. That's how. And falling back onto family legacy, grandparents, yes, they are the people who have a great imprint on the lives of the younger ones. And there is a beautiful saying about this also, that grandparents and grandchildren are the best of friends because they have a common enemy. And that's how they vibe and that's how they move. So the example of grandparents and grandchildren, apart from parents as well, I think this has really touched the chord of making this session very powerful. Now, you have given examples of how to, pledge ourselves to control our anger, to control our negative thoughts, instead, enable ourselves to appreciate everything around us, right from the daybreak to the sunset, the dawn to dusk, the twilight in both the cases, how we have to be grateful, how we have to express our gratitude. And I would like to add Charlie Chaplin here. The world over, how Charlie Chaplin is figured. But what was the pain he underwent? All of us know that. But we do not look back to that. Let's be happy he made us smile. That's what we are to begin with. So let your day begin with humble beginnings, and let your learning lesson also be along with you. And going back to virtuosity practice, I think these are the ones you have mentioned towards the end. And when we practice these three, we are a conqueror and we have gratitude reflected. So this is what I echo with your session, what you have shared with us. Thank you, one and all. And a special thank you to Tiara ma'am for sharing this topic, which is a cult topic, I must say. Thank you. Over to the host.
Thank you so much, Coach Sujata, for a wonderful review.